Parent Entrepreneur Power, conversation number 161.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? Entrepreneur Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. Guess who? Here I am, Mary Catherine Johnson again, and I have with me someone I met through a mutual friend, and I cannot wait to invite her to share her story and introduce herself to you. So without further ado, here we go. I welcome Karen Lopez McWilliams. She is the author of The Ones Who Believed and owner of 9 McDonald's restaurants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And you know what? I found out just a minute ago that she also coaches as a life coach part-time on the side. So I think this is a very busy lady. Anyway, hello there, Karen. How are you today?
I'm good, Mary Catherine. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you for embracing this medium, this podcasting medium. It's a little bit different from all the rest, but I really appreciate you showing up today and being ready to share with us your best thoughts, your best ideas. So let's just get to it here, because I know your story is quite involved and has many twists and turns to it. So take us through your once upon a time story. How did you become an entrepreneur, and how did the kids fit into all that?
Well, great question. And, you know, there's no question that I am an entrepreneur through and through. And I think I was probably born, and if it could be in my DNA, it's definitely there. Actually, when I was working on my book, I was able to learn so much about my family that I didn't realize. So let me share some of that with you. I learned that on my dad's side of the family, his grandfather he was an entrepreneur way back in the early, probably 1930s, 1940s, had a trucking produce company that he, transported cantaloupe and all that neat stuff, produce back and forth. Then his dad went into the grocery store market business and was a butcher, but also owned his own store with his wife. My parents became McDonald's owner-operators in Los Angeles in 1978. My mom's side of the family, her family owned a bakery and a furniture business. And now my parents are in hotels and other things. So to bring you to the present day, I'm a McDonald's owner operator, and I believe that I was influenced strongly by what I was able to kind of unconsciously observe and actually enjoy the beauty and the lifestyle of working for yourself.
Wow. So when did you, that's amazing.
I know. Isn't that amazing? I know. I would have never known that if I had not done the research for my book, though.
Isn't that amazing? That's wonderful to know, though. So you were raised in this environment, your parents, and it sounds like food is a very, very strong part of this entrepreneurial journey, not just entrepreneur, but food. Right. So how wonderful is that? So now your parents owned McDonald's, and then you came into it. So when did that happen?
Well, I was 14 years old when we all moved from Arizona to Arizona to California, and I started working for my parents at that tender age of 14, and I was able to, work help them open their store. First of all, I'm promoted in the Grimace costume, which was a lot of fun, and Hamburglar. But then I was also to become a swing manager, and I was their eyes and their ears, handled money, dealt with customers, which is so important. And it really shaped really my interest in wanting to work for myself. I didn't even know I wanted to be a McDonald's owner, had ventured off in all kinds of different paths. And then one day my parents came to me and said, you would be a great operator. And I said, I would. And so I then left what I was doing at the time to go into the training to become one. And so 25 years later, I still am.
Wow. So what were you doing before you left to go into the training?
Okay, so I was working for the American Heart Association. I had amazing experience. A special event specialist. I worked in the entire LA Metroplex. I dealt with high, special donors who would contribute quite a bit of money to research, and I would provide tours, so they would know where their money was going
Right.
to. I had the most amazing opportunities. It's all my stories in the book, but I
Yeah.
talk about, how one thing led to another, which really, all of that together impacted my journey.
Yes. Isn't it amazing how it's just a single step
Hmm.
and you never know what door is going to open in that next step? You just got to take it.
You have to take it. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't just sit and stay where you are. You have to
Correct.
take another step. But it's a small step. It's not going to be humongous, right? You
Baby
didn't
steps.
Yeah, you didn't start with one huge store and they just threw you in there, right?
Correct.
You had to go through the training, which are very small steps, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. We
Yes.
had to go through training, be approved. And as a second generation candidate at the time, it was a lot harder to get approved. So it did. It took a lot of steps, a lot of meetings, a lot of working in the restaurants, and before they would approve you and to
Wow.
become an owner. And then you had to relocate, anywhere McDonald's wanted you to be, which happened to
Wow.
be in Texas. So I've been here all these years.
Wow, that's amazing. So
And my
then,
husband and I do it together. I mean,
right.
there's no way that I could run that business without him and our amazing staff that we have now.
Wow. So you just went wherever they told you to go, that they were opening another McDonald's or they had a market opening,
Hmm.
and you just had to go there and make a life. And if you wanted to stay, that was where you were going to live.
Hmm. Exactly.
Wow. Oh, wow. That big, probably a bit of a shock between California and Dallas. Is there?
It was a big difference.
Yeah.
Well, one, the traffic was a lot better.
Yeah.
I loved LA, and I was from Arizona and prior to that. But people in Texas are incredibly friendly. I remember when we were moving up here, over here, I should say, we stopped at the gas station, my husband and I, and all of a sudden someone just greets us and starts talking to us. And we're like, oh my gosh, they're so friendly. And it's really been that way ever since. So yeah, we call Texas our home. Both our kids were born and raised here, but I do visit California a lot.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So tell me, okay, so were you married at the time before you went through that training, or did you get married after that?
Let's see, to become an operator, I was married at that time,
Okay.
and my husband and I both we had to sell our home, and we were basically on call waiting for
Wow.
the opportunity. But you pretty much have to put all your finances and everything into the business before you move, and they have
Yeah.
to see your financials. And so it was a interesting time for sure. It was
Wow.
scary.
Yeah, I can imagine,
Hmm.
because that's a pretty big investment to make in yourself, and you're just going to have to jump and hope that it works, right?
Exactly. And so, yeah. And so, what's interesting question that you made me think of something is, when we became owners and moved here, we did not have kids yet. And
Mm.
I remember even prior to working for McDonald's as an owner, when I would work for the American Heart Association, I'd get up at 5 in the morning, I'd drive to work early, beat the traffic because traffic was so exciting back then, and probably still is.
Oh,
And then
worse,
I
more
would work,
exciting.
yeah, and then I'd work 12 hours a day, and then I'd wait for traffic to die down and I'd come home. And I remember saying to my husband, there is no way we could do this and have kids. So I
Hmm.
wasn't, so I think becoming an owner and an entrepreneur eventually allowed me the flexibility to really be able to focus on my kids and
Wow.
family.
So that brings the perfect segue. Thank you very much. To when did the kids come into this? So how long were you an owner operator before you had your children?
Okay, so I think let's see. So I think we were about a year and a half into being owners, and I was pregnant. I was serving on the board, and I was 9 months pregnant, and I would think I was the treasurer of our co-op board at the time, and my husband was looking at me from the audience, and I looked at him like, it's time, we got to go.
Oh no!
During the meeting, and everybody's eyes just followed us as we left.
As you started walking out strangely.
I definitely worked up until the very end,
Oh my
and then it was
goodness.
so, challenging being an owner and having to still do all the things that, you are required to do. We'd have visits from our, I'm trying to consultants. We would have, and I'd have to be there. One time I was mom and I was, I guess I had to pump.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to carry all that with me and excuse myself and do all that at
Yes.
meetings. And yeah, it was quite a journey.
Yes, I remember doing that when I was in corporate America. I was pumping in the middle of a conference call, and when someone asked, "What is that noise?" because it was an electric pump.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and I said, "Oh, there's somebody's working on the next door neighbor suite." The
Yeah.
worker, there's workers in the suite next door. Because it was not, I mean, this was in the 90s,
Hmm.
early 90s, so it wasn't as accepted as it is now. Or at
Exactly.
least I didn't feel comfortable. Let's put it that way. I don't know whether it was accepted or not. My perception was that it wasn't accepted. So I felt uncomfortable divulging the fact that, well, I'm just sitting here pumping out breast milk.
Yeah.
I didn't think people wanted to hear that.
No. So yeah, so that's so interesting. And so that was my son, and then I had an amazing nanny who helped me, and I don't know how I would have done it without her. And then my daughter came along 4 years later, and but as time went on, I think I continued to work and work and work and manage it and somehow find the balance that we all strive for. Um, and I think I still do that to this day. I mean, my kids are teenagers and my son's 22, my daughter's 18, but even to this day, you have to find the balance and try to be present in the moment, because sometimes we get so full of the work tasks and checking things off our list that we forget that these, whether they're toddlers, infants, or teenagers or young adults, they really need our undivided present attention.
Yes, I agree 100%. And the only thing I would say to the word balance is that I look at it, instead of being balance, I look at it as a series of choices.
Mm.
We really have to make a choice. So if I'm sitting here at my computer, not during an interview like this, but let's say
Hmm.
I'm working on something, and my 15-year-old comes up to me and says, "Hey, mom, I learned this amazing thing about philosophy."
Mm.
Well, I need to stop what I'm doing on the computer, not
Mm-hmm.
just sit there and go, as I'm typing,
Mm-hmm.
but specifically stop and either turn or stand up and engage with him
Mm.
right in front of him. And that is more valuable and will take, actually, if you want to think about time, right? That
Mhm.
will take less time than sitting there going, because he's going to keep talking to me because he doesn't think I am understanding him because I'm not paying attention.
Right.
So if I get up and I talk and I engage, we did this just yesterday. And we engage and we have a conversation about this philosophical topic he was just talking about. It was amazing. And then I go back to work.
Exactly.
I look at that, instead of as balance, I look at it as a choice. I have to choose. Am I going to do work right now? And if there was something like this interview, he knows I can't talk. Okay. He knows I'm doing an interview. So he's not going to come and talk to me about philosophy. That's a choice. But
Right.
if it's not that, he knows that as well. And he knows I'm flexible. That's the whole point of this entrepreneurship,
Yes.
isn't it?
It is. It is. And it's interesting because in the book, we created a name, and it's called the Rippler. And essentially, a Rippler is someone who reflects positive change in another life that has far-reaching and long-lasting impact. And so what you just described to me, you're a Rippler because you stopped, you gave attention, and you took in that moment, and you actually passed on that I'm present here for you, which is going to have a long-lasting impact for your children.
Yes, and I see that already. I see that, even if we disagree on something,
Mhm.
especially with my 18-year-old, oh boy, let
Mm.
me tell you.
I have an 18-year-old.
Yes, it's not that it's bad. It's just
No?
hard. It's really hard. He's trying to be independent. I'm trying to help him be independent, but yet still guide him. I mean, it's you think your newborn is hard.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, wait till you have to let go, my friends. Wait
Mhm.
till you power parents out there have to actually start start letting go
Right.
and
You know,
letting
there's
them
a
do that.
great resource out there. Trying to remember. Okay, it's Mark Gregston. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he has a business called Parenting Today's Teens. And
Hmm.
I tell you, that's something that's helped me tremendously with our busy work schedule and, being an entrepreneur. But he has daily messages, parenting resources, toolboxes, quotes, stories you can listen to, 30-second blips. It's been phenomenal. So I
Wow.
share it for teenagers. Boy, I tell you, that's been
That's
a
it, huh?
lifesaver for me.
Well, wonderful. Power Parents, that will be in the show notes, and you know where those are, right? With this episode. So, all right. So, Karen, we've talked about the McDonald's, but we've talked about it a little bit. But I want to bring it back to, you know, you first off, from what we were just talking about, you took your parents' advice when they said you'd be a great owner operator. You'd be wonderful at this, and you said really, and you
Mhm,
probably thought back to all that time you spent with them starting it. What
mhm.
made you agree with them?
What made me agree with it? Well, I trusted them.
Hmm.
Obviously, over the years, we developed trust. I valued the fact that I was honored, the fact that they would think that I could actually be a great operator, and we have. I mean, my husband and I and our team have done a tremendous job out here in the Dallas area. So I don't know. I took it as a compliment, and I went with it.
Yay. So, it's amazing to me. It's incredible to me how this lineage you came from is all entrepreneurial, all in food, and you were surrounded by it as a young girl, young woman, and it's not necessarily, like you said, it's not maybe necessarily in your physical DNA,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
it was in your social structure, it was in everything you
Hmm.
knew, so it was kind of like your social DNA, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm not in that situation, and I definitely did not come from that, or if someone listening to us did not come from that, and they know no one, or they don't have anyone that is supportive of them like your parents were, and has the environment that you were raised in, to have, yes, some fear, but you also know their success. So
Hmm.
that person sitting out there that doesn't have that, how could you help them? How can they find that connection or find that ability to
Hmm.
to to know that, yes, they're going to be afraid, but they're also going to be able to have success?
Right. So if I ask you one question, then I'll answer your question once you answer it. My question is, okay, if there's someone in your life who positively impacted, made a difference, and influenced you, who would it be and why?
Okay, that's a tall order. Let's see. There have been many people in my
Hmm.
family. My
Hmm.
grandmother, specifically, I was named after her. I looked up
Awesome.
to her tremendously. But I think the biggest influence during a time that I was easily influenced, high school,
Hmm.
was my high school music teacher.
Awesome.
He
Okay.
he I think I looked up to him, and I think he influenced me greatly.
What was his name?
His name was Mr. Lopes.
Mr. Lopes.
Mr. Lopes.
Awesome. 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 Well, see, and so that's a great, so the book that I worked on, and my co-author is Mary Lou Kaiser, um, it challenges people to ask the question, like, when was the last time you really hit the pause button on your busy life, like I just asked you, and reflected on someone who has believed in you? And as simple of a question is that is, the ones who believed, um, identifies ways to interview people, or to think back and help you remember who impacted the direction of your life. And what I found, quite interestingly, is that it's someone either from education, like a music teacher, an English
Hmm.
teacher. For me, it was my counselor. Um, it can be a speech coach, which is also another teacher that's focused and discussed in the book. But also, it can be someone from family. It can also be someone from business and mentoring. And so these are the areas of our lives that we have the opportunity to either impact someone's life or to feel the impact from individuals like Mr. Lopes.
Yes. Yeah, and thank you for that. That's perfect because the Power Parents know this story, and I'll say it really quickly, and it illustrates exactly what you just said. So I go into high school in ninth grade. I'm playing the cello for 2 years, and I'm second to last chair out of about, I think, 12 cellos. And we have an audition, a blind chair challenge, if you will. And someone none of us knows and doesn't know us comes in and with his back to the room, listens to each of us playing the same passage and decides which of us should be in which chair. And little ninth grader me, second to last chair, this person decides that I should be first chair.
Oh my goodness.
That's exactly what I said, only I didn't say anything. I said it in my head. I was just totally dumbfounded. Like, what? Wait a minute. He didn't just call me because we were all had a number, not a name, right? And he called my number as first chair. Everybody, the whole orchestra turns because I'm in the back and looks at me. And so I go to first chair and the teacher accepts that and smiles at me very encouragingly and supports it. You know, he could have easily denounced it, like, oh, that was stupid. Well, yeah, that was just one thing. I mean, there are many, many things he could have done to undermine my very tiny confidence, right? But he didn't. He encouraged it. He helped me. And that was a absolute pivotal moment in my life. And it gave me confidence. And of course, how I returned that was in the typical high school way. And I went and TP'd his house a few months later.
You're kidding.
But anyway, sorry, I digress.
Okay, but that's a great story, and so those are the kind of stories that are in the book, and the questions that I ask are very detailed, and we ask our interviewees to go down memory lane to that moment in time, and how it made them feel. You know, how has it impacted the direction of the life and the confidence that it built in you to become who you are today, and so it kind of emphasizes something that's really something I want to emphasize to your listeners. And as simple as it sounds, the roles that we play in life are critically important. You know, whether you're a mother or father and it's your love, it's a work mentor support, an educator's engagement, like in your case, a legend's wisdom, a grandparent's presence, or your spouse's love or support. The role you play in life is critical. And we just have to, I think we oftentimes don't realize that in the moment. We just, like you said, we stay busy, we're not focused. But like your example of you standing up, turning around and talking to your son, that's the kind of role that's important in life. We need to do that, not only with our employees and people who work with us and for us, but also for our circle of influence.
I agree 100%. And the more we do that, the less we have to worry about when there are those times when we can't do that. We don't have to worry that the other person won't understand because we've already invested, we've already given. Right?
Right.
So sometimes they're going to know we can't completely make them the center of our life and attention because life happens, but they'll understand and it won't be as impactful. Whereas if I still stayed and chatted on my computer and typed in the middle of the conversation, they're just going to write me off. Like, I don't understand. And the few times that I might stop and pay attention aren't going to impact them as much.
Right. And so one of the stories, and it's called Three Little Words is what the story's called. And it's a young man named Bryant McKeon. And he talks about that exactly kind of scenario, but with his grandfather, and how, usually he would talk and no one really would listen to him, and he was really talking to him. One day his grandpa was really listening and really present, and he'll never forget that moment, that interaction with his grandfather. And it's impacted the entire direction of his life, the things he's doing now, the confidence he holds, what he plans to do in the future. It's just, again, the role we play in life is important.
And I had to, okay, Power Parents, a little bit of disclosure here in the fact that I have a copy of this book, okay? And I have read it. And again, you already know Mary Lou Kayser is someone you know and love on this podcast who's been here a couple of times. And I've asked Karen to be here because I've read this book. And one of the things I have to read you right now, I'm looking at one of the stories. This is a collection of stories. And what I love about the back of it, at the end of each story, I love the key questions for personal reflection. Okay, so you read the story and then it asks some key questions that'll get you to go a little deeper in some of the things you might not have thought of. But here's one of the stories that this quote, oh my goodness, all right? The story is called Success Has Many Parents. And it says exactly that, the quote, success has many parents, but failure is an orphan. Okay, now just digest that for a minute. Right? That's amazing. So take me a little bit deeper. So how can we, all right, let's turn this around. I talked about it with my son. I know the power parents. We call ourselves power parents, Karen, because we have the power. If we've already raised children, if you've potty trained a child, you can handle business, right? That shows you failure. That shows you have to be adaptable. That shows you have to know your customer, your kid, right? I mean, it shows you all those things in that one instance it shows you being patient, okay? Persevering, all those things that you need in business, you've got in potty training. So if you can do potty training, you can handle business, okay?
Right.
So that's why we already know we have the power. So just use that power to business, all right?
Exactly.
So,
Great comparison.
Yeah. So, all right. So power parents, we're going to shift it here. We already know that we can influence our children. And Karen has already taken us through reflecting on who in our lives might have influenced us. Now let's take it to business. If we are in business and we don't have anyone, like you said, like you have in your life, if I don't have anyone, so power parents, sit for a minute and think about who in your life has influenced you, whether it's a blog post you read that gave you inspiration to keep going when you were just ready to give it up, whether it was a conference you went to where you finally got the idea and just were like, that's it, I'm going to do it. And you started researching. What is it somewhere in your life? Is there any other area that we can look to or any place we can look to, Karen, to find that influence to be successful in business?
Well, God, I think, mentoring is a really popular topic these days. And yet I believe mentoring really has two forms. And so, I mean, you can be mentored or be mentored, or you can mentor. Right. And I think that's an area where people can really look to. But I think it's more organic. In my opinion, it can be very successful when you meet someone, you have that connection, whether it's in the workplace or whether it's in your community organizations that you might be part of, or maybe consider getting involved in your community, and finding someone who you really connect with and who you agree with, and just support each other. It's that unspoken belief that I think occurs when you meet somebody who really can help you step into the light, I guess. But there's so many different ways I think you can find it. But I would look definitely in your circle of influence, where you are. I mean, because ultimately, even in my case, even though I was socially exposed to entrepreneur activities since I was born, not everything that I mentioned was very successful. Not everything that I mentioned. It really takes the power of self to put yourself out there and to be successful. It's hard work. You have to surround yourself with a good team. If I didn't have a good team, I would not be successful. I am somebody who absolutely recognizes the role that the entire team plays to see a goal through, or to see a business be successful. I wouldn't be successful without my team. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yes. So you talked about community. You talked about the people you meet. You talked about people at your work or at organizations that you belong to, in your social group. So is there anyone that you have been influenced by virtually, where you haven't actually met them, but you've seen them online, you've seen what they do, you've read some of their content, and it impacted you to help you change your life at all?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I'm going through a program now. It's Michael Hyatt.
Yes,
Well, it.
I do.
I'm telling you what, I'm really excited about. I'm not doing it. This program I'm doing, I should have done it in like 5 days, and I'm not. I'm only on day 3, and it's been weeks. But I have to tell you, I love that he's challenging me to um, identify goals, specific goals, look at where you came from and where you're going. And what was the last one I'm working on right now that I just loved? Looking back and identifying, your lessons from this past year, identifying what those lessons are that you can learn from, because if you can recognize what went well and what didn't go well, and then move it forward, and in your next year, and it's just great.
That's Michael Hyatt's 5 days to your
Yes,
best year ever.
yes, I
See,
love
power
it.
parents, there you go. That can be someone who influences you, even though you don't know them. And, even though in the last show that I published before our conversation here, basically we talked about don't take any more online courses, just get down and do the work. And that's very true. But this online course is doing work.
Yes, it is.
It is. It's not, it's not just, some little online course that you're going to take to, gain more confidence or anything like that. It's really getting you to specifically outline your goals and understand where it is you want to go.
And interestingly enough, I think he also has a book, so you don't necessarily have to buy his online course. You can go look at his book, and it actually guides you pretty much through what it is that we're doing for the 5-day course. Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah,
I'm really
exactly.
impressed with his perspective. I love it.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So there you go. Find an online mentor, and then see other people. One of the ways that I've met some really interesting people is in that situation. If you do buy a course, or if you are part of a community, let's say you are part of, here's one of my favorites, a great guy that I've just followed since about probably 2009. His name is Pat Flynn, and his community is called Smart Passive Income. And he's got an amazing community. And if you just go he's got a free group on Facebook, and you just go in and start engaging with some of those people, you're going to find some very like-minded people that will help influence you and that you can bounce ideas off. And in that group, that's what they do. So there's, I'm sorry to say, there's no excuse.
Right. No, there
Right?
isn't anymore.
You
Not
can find it, even
Yes.
if you are in the depths of Alaska. And
Yes.
you are not part of a community, you're in a cabin, and I don't know how you have internet access, but you do. You can find someone who can influence you to help you grow and build the business of your dreams. You can. And of course, Skype is a wonderful thing to use.
Well, and I will tell you, I mean, just like let's go doing a little bit of research on your podcast, and I loved some of the videos you showed when it came to an infant and a toddler and baby steps and all that, and that really helped me because the book that I've done, just trying to create awareness, really trying to create a movement where people will identify, thank, and pass on those who have been instrumental in their life, and to really encourage random acts of kindness, if you will. But you gave me confidence to know, okay, I'm still in the infancy stage here, and it's baby steps and one bite at a time kind of philosophy. And I very much appreciated that about what I listened to.
Oh, thank you so much for
No,
that.
I really mean it.
Oh, I really thank you. Yes, because that's really what it's all about. We need that reminder. And when we're in the midst of it and it's not bringing us the results that we think should be happening like overnight.
Nothing's overnight, like you said. It
I
isn't,
know,
no.
no. And but see, even you didn't remember what it took for you to do McDonald's. We're in the moment. We're so impatient.
Well,
Yes,
you work so
I
hard, and
agree.
for this project, it was
agree.
18 months at
Yeah.
least. And so, yeah, I mean, we launched it. Again, when I say I launched it, it was on Facebook.
Yeah.
So, and then from there, we're on Amazon, and now potentially soon, I don't know when this will air, but soon we'll be at barnesandnoble.com. And so it's exciting. I mean, but to your point, it's baby steps. It's definitely baby steps.
Yes, we don't, when we're born, we're not gazelles. We don't immediately run.
No.
We have to do it very slowly. So thank you for that comment.
Oh,
I really
sure.
appreciate it. And it's so true. But I got to tell you, you've been talking about ripples, and it sounds like the ones who believed that's the purpose of it, is to create huge ripples
Yes.
around the world.
Well, it is. It's one. It's awesome when you can. If again, I guess my main messages of the book. The stories are amazing, insightful. Probably will inspire you in more ways than I can imagine. And I really appreciate your shout out about the takeaways, the personal reflection questions. And those, I started doing that. And once the book was done, I started going back and reading it again, like as a reader. And what was the one here I'm looking at? Oh, The Currency of Confidence, which is awesome. Which features Dr. Bill Dorfman, who is a celebrity dentist in LA. Amazing man. I love talking with him. In fact, he encouraged me so much throughout the process. And I've met him once, and he's been so supportive and encouraging of this philosophy and the whole concept. But his mom was the most steady and constant love throughout his entire life. And ultimately, she believed in him so much. It was like a golden current, like he said, running through his life because she believed in him, and that got him through medical school, and that got him through other things. And so the key question after his story is, who has been the most steady and constant force in your life? So I took that to myself, and I said, okay, well, that would be my husband. That would also be, I had to believe in myself in order to see this project through. And, it made me stop and realize that my sister, oh my gosh, she's always been there for me. So it's phenomenal. I mean, so the personal reflection questions pull you in once you read these. They're like 5 pages average. The stories are, but then it goes deeper, and it pulls you into how you can then remember those people and then thank them and then pass it on. I mean, that's ultimately the bottom line.
Right. So yes, remembering them is one thing, but there is another step, and that is taking action on that memory and doing something about it. And
and that's the goal, really, is to create a movement of gratitude and to encourage people to think. So we call it ITP: identify, thank, and pass on. And we have an actual process in the book where people can, I think I left 5 questionnaires in the back of the book where people can actually go down and remember in detail their memory and how it impacted them. And then there's actually a template of a letter that people could use to, take bits and pieces of it so they can, shoot off a letter or a note or a card or whatever it is that they want to do, or a phone call or a dinner.
Yes. Okay. So here, we're going to take this a little bit further. Thank you for that, Karen. So here we go. Power Parents. This isn't just a sales pitch for Karen's book, even though I won't tell you need to go buy this book. Okay. But that's not what this show is about. This show is about how can we use these as actionable tools to be a better parent entrepreneur. And I think Karen just hit on it. So we've been talking about it this whole time. So we need to grow our business. Let's say you need to find a mentor, or you need to find your next customer, whatever that might be. You're using these exact same tools. You can go back online. So how did I get Pat Flynn to come on this show? How did I get Karen to come on this show? How did I get anyone, typically not all of them, but most of them that I invite onto this show, I went and engaged in their content. I went and saw how they impacted me. And then I used the exact same technique Karen just said. And I went and wrote a letter. I wrote an email. I wrote a Facebook message, a Twitter, wherever I was connecting with them, I engaged and told them exactly how their content affected me. And would they please come share it on my show? And about 90% to 95% of the people because I've kind of shot a little high sometimes, right? And J.K. Rowling isn't coming here yet, but I'm still trying. Okay,
Good. Oh, that'd be awesome.
right?
Right.
So so maybe 95%, 90 or 95% of the people that has actually started the conversation, and it's the same thing in your life. Do the exact same thing in your life. This is basically embracing joy, right? This is embracing kindness because someone has impacted you. And I'm telling you right now, Power Parents, there is no greater joy than when you bring joy to someone else. So when you impact someone else, you give them a gift that is so important to them. I had someone in my audience that I talked to about a year ago and helped him start up. And he just had a Skype conversation for about an hour.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Look
it was
at you.
it was
You
a
are
lot of
rippler.
fun. I love it. I love it. And so, you know what? We had a Skype conversation and we've kept in contact on Skype or on Twitter and all kinds of stuff. And then he wanted to chat with me again yesterday. And so we chatted again for about a half an hour, and he was struggling with something. And that, because he left better than our conversation started, that fills my heart more than $10,000 in the bank.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Yes.
I would love the $10,000 in the bank. No problem with that. But, nothing. I can't, when I'm in my last breaths, I'm going to remember my heart being full, not my bank account being full.
Exactly. I want, as you talk, you made me think of something. On my Facebook page for Ones Who Believed, we post very inspirational quotes or sayings, and something that really fits in well with what we're talking about is it's a really cool picture of the word mentor. And then it has all these words around it that actually talk to what you were talking about, how, engaging in other people's content, or, researching, or where you can find people that you can be mentored by or mentor. And so, for example, it says training, leadership, seminars, workshops, inspire, learn, practice, guide, success, goals, people, motivate, direction, method, work, develop. That's kind of cool because it kind of all pulls in to what you were saying.
Yes, all of that. Yes.
And then one other thing that I love, one of my favorite quotes on here is, I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let him down. and that's the quote by Abraham Lincoln.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that cool? I
Yes.
know.
Yes.
One of my favorite quotes. And then my favorite quote, which is my quote, it's in the book. It's like on one of the first pages. And I believe this is true in family. And I believe this is very true in business. And again, your circle of influence. So when I give the best of me, that becomes my legacy.
Yes.
I believe that's really important in the Power Parent, because you have to be present in business and present in your family. But when you can be in that mindset, okay, I'm going to give my best, not only to my family, but to my children, to the workplace. And that is what lives on. It's those acts of kindness that live on.
Absolutely. That is our legacy, isn't it?
It is our legacy.
It's how we're remembered.
Yes.
And I don't just give my son attention so that he'll hopefully take care of me in my old age.
Right. You do, because you genuinely want to.
I
And you can
just
hit the
love that
pause
little
button.
guy. He's not little anymore. He's definitely taller than I am. But, he'll always be my little guy, right?
Right.
Oh, my
right.
goodness. Well, we have been all over the place this time, Karen, right?
Sorry. I tend
Don't
to
be.
like that.
Oh, do not be at all. This is a conversation. I know the Power Parents are enjoying this because we're weaving in life.
Right.
This is not just follow this little template and you will be successful, right? This is
right,
life. So we've talked about mentorship. We've talked about obviously believing in ourselves and others and looking back. I love that quote from Abraham Lincoln. The only thing I would add to it is I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's time. We pass it forward.
We have to pass it forward.
Yeah.
Right.
So my son will be a success tomorrow
Exactly.
because I invested in him today and I believed in him today. That is it. That's power. So we've talked about mentorship. We've talked about coaching. We've talked about believing. We've talked about tools. Where can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more, they want to get the book, they want to explore all the things that you've just talked about and hear more stories?
Oh, thank you for asking. My goal is that people will take gratitude to a new level. And so I would be honored if people would go visit my web page, which is oneswhobelieved.com. And on that page, we actually have 2 free chapters that you can download and get a sneak peek of the book and see what all the buzz is about.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see that we are all ripplers. All of us are. We all are ripplers, meaning someone who shapes someone's life positively, that has long-lasting impact, and that really is one of my goals. Is to
Yes.
encourage that.
Yes. And, we have a morning routine, or at least I do, and we've talked about this many times on the show, a morning routine, and we call it a power morning routine. And part of that power morning, each of the letters in power stands for an action in our morning routine. And O is openness, and we kind of visualize the day. But one of the W's, we have 3 different W's. What are the 3 most important and most revenue generating actions you need to do today? Who needs me today? That right there, when you think about who needs you today, think about how you can make a ripple in their life. And oh my goodness, if I started my day with these kinds of thoughts, how can it be a negative day?
Exactly.
It'll be an incredible day. Because then I'm committing to being a ripple in someone else's life, a positive influence. And if you need a selfish reason to do that, they will remember you. Believe me.
Exactly.
Wow. All right, Karen, is there any last piece of advice you'd want to give someone sitting out there thinking that, I don't have anyone, I can't think of anyone, I don't know how I'm going to do this, I'm ready to give up. They're kind of in that place where they're stuck and they might be on that fence thinking they might just jump back into corporate world and just give up this whole entrepreneurial thing. Is there any piece of advice you would give that person?
Oh, gosh. I'll give you a quick story. Yeah, my son is in college, and he was actually a senior, and he went and he worked at the Disney World internship, right, for about 6 months. And he could have gone to the parks and worked every day, which he loved. Don't get me wrong, he loved it, absolutely loved it. And he wants to go back and he wants to work over there in marketing and advertising and all that. But one thing that he did, he was incredibly persistent. And I don't know where he learned this from, but I have to tell you, I'm incredibly proud of him. He met with probably 20 to 30 people while he was there. This is what he did. Hi, my name is Chalmer. I'm in the internship program here, but I'd love to come talk with you and learn about what you did to get where you are today. I'd love to learn your story. And so what he's done is he's investing his own time on his own to meet with people, find out how they were successful. And now he's got this entire network set up now, and people giving him advice now while he's still in school, what next steps he should take. I mean, it's phenomenal stuff. Maybe that's something that might encourage power parents, to not give up. To keep going. Find people you can meet with one-on-one and talk with them.
Wonderful advice.
Does that help? I hope that's better than where I was going before.
I think that's wonderful advice. Power parents, if this has been even a tenth as inspirational to listen to as it has been to record and have the conversation with Karen, we've hit our mark, because I've been very inspired by these stories, and I've been very inspired by chatting with you today, Karen. I really have. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing not just your incredible book, but your story and where you came from and how you are helping build a better world. I so appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To get powered up for your day, just go to parententrepreneur.power.com and listen to any one of the over 100 episodes we've had so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.